audio notes.
Live.
Open voice memo.
Is there carpet behind you? Is that one that I pray on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Just if you could spread it out for Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers, move up, inshallah. It's going to be probably packed today. Sallallahu khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Brothers, please move up, inshallah. Silence your phones. Cut them off. The first is so you're not distracted. Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمنه الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله خير كلام الله سبحانه وخير هدى هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها فإن كل محدثة بدعة أما بعد. First thing I want to do is apologize for being late. I've been, Allah Mustaan, tested with back pain for the whole week. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى الشفاء وكفارة الذنوب يزدني إن شاء الله درجة والصبر فيه. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove by it some of my sins. May Allah heal me and raise me and make me patient with it. Ameen. Today's topic is the kickoff. And we don't want to say like football, NFL, Allah mustaan, astaghfirullah, but we say kickoff, meaning in our language, we start in the 4-day weekend, Kitab al-Fitan, من Sahih Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, and that is the book of trials and tribulations. And this is very important as we have 4 days tonight from 6 to 9. Of course, if you come, be on time. We're going to have light refreshments, and it's being catered, by moms. Now, she'll tell you what that means, but my wife is catering the food, and she's, without talking about her, she's a chef. So refreshments tonight, tomorrow, and then on the Ahad, Sunday, it's going to be a meal, but it's going to be brunch style. And then on Monday, which is Memorial Day, that's going to be a meal, but it's not brunch style. So, come, you can have food for your body, food for your soul, and don't forget, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, to benefit ourselves, take advantage, because we are in time of extreme tribulation, extreme trials. May Allah help us as a ummah. Ameen. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He mentioned His Quran, وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةَ لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And Allah warns us, تَعُومْ بِفِتْنَةٍ بمعنى تَعُومْ بالعقاب. When there's a general trials and tribulations, then that means the punishment has to be general. If there's a particular trial and tribulation, then that's everybody has that in his or her life. But when it's general, then the punishment is general. And this is one of the answers to why we have so many mass shootings, and why did that child get killed. He was only 2 years old, sleeping in his crib, and my grandfather didn't bother anybody. Why did he die like that? And because the punishment of the general, and here fitna again, it includes sins. Don't think fitna as, oh, that lady has a big butt, astaghfirullah, akhi. That's a fitna. No, that is a type of fitna. Don't think of buying my child Christmas toys and a tree, but I'm a Muslim, as a fitna. That is a type of fitna. Don't think of obeying my husband, even though it's haram because I don't want to lose him, is a fitna. No, that is a type of fitna. But also, one of the biggest meanings of fitna, being tested in your deen, being tried, being tested means calamity, confusion, tribulations as it relates to being a Muslim. So this is very important. When the trials are general, then because Allah is just, then the punishment has to be general. The only way that you'll survive as a Muslim, you have to be one who enjoys the good. Because when you're enjoying the good, this brings good not only amongst you, whether it's between you and yourself firstly. You're enjoying the good on yourself. There's no enjoying the good on others and forgetting yourself. That's blameworthy. And if you have some sin, although some scholars try to say, if you have something, I drink beer, I can't tell you, Akhi, don't drink beer. No. We mentioned that example in the hadith of Marwan ibn Hakam, when he was the Amir, and he wanted to do on Eid, the khutbah first, and do the salah. We mentioned that hadith. And the man stood up and opposed him. Why? Because if they didn't, Allahumma musta'an, everybody would have been punished. Everybody would have been punished. And he was the Amir. That's like going against the mayor of Poughkeepsie, or the mayor of Newark, or the mayor of Philly, or the mayor of Chicago, or the mayor of St. Louis. That's big. We don't say that you have to correct everything, but the point is, even if you have some shortcoming, the benefit of enjoying the good, reminding somebody of the good. And as Abu Sa'id opposed him clearly, then that's standing in the way, trying to make the evil less. This is the only way. Other than that, the evil will be general and the punishment will be general. That's why Imam Bukhari in the Sahih, he mentioned Bab, Dhuhur al-Fitan. And Dhuhur here doesn't mean the parents of fitna. Because as he's mentioning that, you would think this only now trials and tribulations between the Muslims.
and the non-Muslims. And any type of trial and tribulation only occurred during the time of Imam Bukhari. But we know that's not true. So here, Duhura means, yani, takthir, means the abundance, not the appearance. Because if he meant now trials and tribulations appear between the Muslims, and then he mentioned what he knows from the hadith, then you have to go all the way back to when Umar was killed. They called it Kasr al-Bab, when the door was broken. Before that time, Kanat Bab, Hajis, Bainana, yani between the Muslims, there was something to prevent. Here, yani fitan also means haraj, qatl, fighting, killing. There was a door between us, between one another, something to prevent you from fighting the Muslim. Once they broke the door and they said the door was yani qatl, Umar ibn al-Khattab, khalas. It became on and on and on to this day, to the point the Muslims are killing Muslims. This is a type of fitna. So Imam Bukhari, he mentions yani Bab, yani Kitab al-Fitn, the book of fitna. Then he mentions the statement باب يعني تقارب يعني ماذا يعني تقارب يعني الساعة أو تقرب نعم يعني بين يدينا يعني الساعة, that these things will happen. They will happen as a sign of fitna. And Imam Bukhari mentions the hadith قال حدثنا ماذا عياش ابن وليد البصري. He mentioned from his Shaykh. قال حدثنا عبد الأعلى narrated from his Shaykh. قال حدثنا معمر Ibn Rashid. These are our Salaf. Go look them up. You have, wallahi, machines, computers. We know nothing about them. But if it's Kobe who got killed, or LeBron, or this actor, or this movie, we know all about them. يعلمون ظاهرا من الدنيا وفي الآخرة هم غافلون. Now وبالآخرة هم الغافلون. They know all the stuff about the dunya, but when it comes to the hereafter, they don't know. This is Allah Musta'an. So معمر ibn Rashid يعني نعم قال عن زهري هو محمد بن شهاب الزهري. نعم عن سعيد بن المسيب. نعم سعيد بن المسيب عن أبي هريرة. That's the chain Imam Bukhari he brings. Said, and in Nabi Sallam, the Prophet said, Yataqaraba, yani things will become, and we don't have time to explain the means of Yataqarab. We'll bring that tonight. The point is, listen to these things. They're going to take place. One of the meanings, yani Taqarab, these things will yani be happening. They will be happening. He said, Tuqsiru al-amal. The actions of the Muslims will be short. The actions will not be the same. And we're talking about good actions. Will not be the same. It will be shortcomings. Now, with called shuh, you will find shuh and bukhl is similar, except they said shuh ashad min al-bukhl. Bukhl means you're stingy with your wealth. وَتَعِينْ بِمَالٍ, with what you have assets. Like in bukhl is a great major sin, while shuh is greater. Because they said shuh could mean you have some knowledge. You can share and show somebody, but you won't. Brother has a way to make money. He has a trade. He keeps it to himself. And he knows people are in need of that. Whether he pays somebody to teach it, he teaches it, he gets paid, he does it for free. The issue is, he feels, I have it, I'm not passing it on. That's sure. That's a type of fitan. A person also, يتظاهر ماذا اللهم مستعان الفتن, trials and tribulations. We become more. Trials and tribulations. Fitna here means mihan, imtihan, calamity. Things that are yani masa'ib, sicknesses, deviation. They become more. يكثر ماذا الحرج. يكثر الحرج. And haraj, it has two meanings. يعني it means الاختلاط مع الاختلاف. Being with people while you have differences. And Prophet Sallallahu, when he was asked, he said it means يعني قتل لأنه يعني يوصل إلى القتل. The ulama, they said, and the reason the Prophet mentioned that the word haraj means qatl, killing, because not only it's when you're mixed together you're having problems, a lot of problems, but it also leads to killing. That's why the Prophet, in the most famous and eloquent ways, he mentioned it's killing, but it's really mixing together with opposition, with great opposition. What normally happens, people get confused, people get upset, and then bodily harm, bloodshed. So this is very important when you talk about studying this chapter. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we talk about the issue of a salah, I was asked, wallahi, last year, the brother used to come, Muhammad. I think he's from Pakistan. He used to always come in Ramadan, and they will pray also with us. He will bring different things for the masjid, vacuum he brought. He asked me about this issue. I said, I have to go back and check with my shuyukh and read upon it. That is the issue of the twilight, zawal. When you talk about what time to pray and what not time to pray. And this affected us in Ramadan because people now, they want to do imsak, 20 minutes before stop eating, which is no basis for this in the deen. But if you talk about the twilight, the issue of prayer, they have three of them that they use. And this is an old issue. Some scholars wrote books, the astronomers, they wrote books about this. They said there's the twilight that's astronomical. And they said that's when the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon. So that means somebody's going to count the Fajr from that time, when the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon. Then there's the natakal. I might be saying wrong. Natakal, they said, this is when it's like 15 or 15.5. And that's around the time that most people, when they use these calculations, say this is al-Fajr Sadiq. This is the proper time of Fajr. So there's a deceptive Fajr and there's a real Fajr. A prophet called it Fajr Sadiq or Fajr Kadhib. Kadhib or Sadiq. Meaning you think it's Fajr, but it's not. So you may pray too early and you may finish too early. Then you have the twilight. When you see some light, they call it civil. And they said that's when it's about 12 degrees, the sun below the horizon. And by that time, everybody can see, wow, it's about to be the break of day. When you talk about this issue, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are different hadith, long discussions. You can't just read a book in English. And again, I don't toot horns, I don't brag, but Allah Azza wa Jal, barakallahu alayna, wa yubarik fina, fi awqatina, wa fi amakinina, that Allah blessed us with our time. Allah blessed us with our places of study. The 2000s is not like the 90s, and the 90s is not like the 80s. And the 80s is not like the 70s. The Prophet said every time, the time that comes after ashara min, qabl, the time after will be worse than the time before. We're blessed to study these books in detail. In Yemen, explanation of Sahih Muslim, Imam al-Nawawi, very detailed with scholars. Because even if we knew Arabic, even if we were proficient professors, you have to sit with people of ilm to uncover these things, to yuzilu al-shubuhat, to remove the misconceptions and doubts, because this is a type of fitna. Misconceptions in the deen. Oh, I thought, well, I wasn't sure. Oh, well, I did this. Oh, I didn't know. I know I was on the right path, but I was really wrong. What are we going to do, Yawm al-Qiyamah? We meet Allah with all of that. It's a fitna. So the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, you have the hadith of Jabir bin Abdullah, in the Bukhari Muslim. You have the hadith of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. You have the hadith of Anas. You have so many Sahaba. When the Prophet they said, Kana yusalli dhuhr, naam, bil hujr. Hujr, that means the sun was straight up in the sky. As they say, fi button is samai. That's why they call this is your button. Your stomach is they call the button because it's the middle of your body. When the sun fi button is samai, it's straight up in the air. هذا وقت الظهر. And the only time you can pray something before it's that time, when it should be at that time, is Jum'ah. And there's the narration where they said we prayed Salam, Jum'ah, and we came out and there was no shade on the wall, which means it wasn't Dhuhr yet. Wasn't Dhuhr. Sun hadn't declined. And the Hanbalis, they're the ones that take that position based on the hadith in Sahih Muslim. But that's Jumu'ah. Imagine you gathering, you outside, the floor is made from dirt, the ceiling is from date palms, sun is coming in. And in those days, the hottest part of the day was when the sun is straight up. But the regular dhuhr, the Prophet would wait. Let the sun decline, move a little bit. That's called a hujr. It said then the Prophet yusalli asr. وَيَسِيرُ شَيْئًا ذِلُّهُ مِثْلَهُ. And the Prophet will pray asr when the shadow of a thing was equal to that thing. Asr time, the shadow is going to be equal to the object that's there, that has a reflection. You also have the Prophet said, يعني يسير شيئا ذِلُّ مثليه. It's 2 times the size. That's when the sun has really moved, declined, and now you're starting to go in the last part of Asr. وكان يصلي المغرب حجبا أي تغيب الشمس, and the sun went down. And that sun going down, you still have shafaq, a light, just like Tulu al-Shams, when the sun rises, or Tulu al-Fajr, when the Fajr really comes in, you have a light. You have a darkness in the sky at Fajr. If the line is across the whole sky, that is not the Fajr. It's when you look to the right and you see some type of lightness, and you look to the left, there's more darkness, that's Fajr. That's the Fajr Sadiq. And when we're in Yemen, you can see that because there's no street lights, there's no house lights, there's no car lights in the village. You can see that clearly. And then the narration of Jabir ibn Abdullah and Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, and Abdullah ibn Umar and the rest of them, and Anas, they said they used to come and pray. Aisha said, Kunna nashhad salat al-fajr ma'an Nabi sallam. Used to pray, the women used to pray fajr. Not all of them, but some of them. She said, fi ghalas, meaning there was some darkness and some light. But how much light? She said, to the point that we couldn't notice one another. And another narration, we start to cover our body but open our face. If the Prophet seen us, he would probably say something because it was so dark. She said, what are you now? Yani ba'dan. While we couldn't recognize one another. The narration, sittum ila al-miyat al-ayat, yukra. Prophet would recite 60 to 100 ayat. And still, the men said, when we came out, we can notice who was next to us barely. That means praying the Fajr at the earliest time period. While the Prophet said, Usfaru al-Fajri. Usfaru al-Fajri. فإنه أعظم الأجر. فإنه أعظم في الأجر أو كما قال. Isfaru. That means now it's yellowish almost. It's not red yet. Red, that means the sun rose. But the prophet is saying, the ulama said that has two meanings. Either it's saying pray at that time, because you know it's Fajr, or that the prophet is saying read until that time. As again, he would read 60 to 100 ayahs. Sometimes he would read short the surah, but most of the time, Fajr, he's stretching it out. That way when you leave, you know it was Fajr. We didn't pray too early, because you prayed. But if you pray and then you leave, it's still dark, know that you prayed too early and you finished too early. So if the Prophet said, Isfuru al-Fajr, and Shaikh Mukbil said, the meaning of this can't be pray at that time. Why? Because all of the narrations said, he's going to tell you something and do something different. It has to have another meaning. Or this is the meaning of, if you pray at that time, let it be min bab al-durura. You have no other choice. But purposely, laysa min يعني ماذا منهج النبي. It's not from the way of the Prophet. ولو كان في اختلاف, even if people have a different way of looking at who do we follow, and that's what we mentioned the hadith of Marwan ibn Hakam again. We didn't take his narration. We didn't take what he did. We couldn't take anybody over the Prophet. You also have, with regards to Asr, they said five halat, five different issues with Asr. First one, the time that's most preferred, waqtul fadal. That means in the beginning, when the shadow is equal to that thing one time. They said next, the second way, ikhtiyar. You can choose another time other than that. But it's no munkaran involved, meaning it's not too late. It's still awesome. It's not the very beginning, but it's not the end either. Then that's ikhtiyar, al-munkaran. Now you choose, but this is bad. Because if something happens, you purposely wait to that time where it's bad, you go to the bathroom. I got to get something to drink. Nowadays, the phone rings. You look up, it's gone. You're blameworthy. And then they said the part where a person, durura, has no other choice. You may have to delay it because your wife is in labor. It's emergency. She's losing blood, like the Ba'ad of Khandaq. Prophet purposely didn't pray Asr. To the point that Umar said, Salli Asr al-An. We didn't pray Asr yet. And the Prophet was rebuking those mushrikeen that apprehended them in the battle. Then the Prophet made wudu. And they prayed Salat al-Asr while it was Maghrib time. That was before the revelation of praying when you're fighting. Salat al-Khawf. You may have to, but that can't be the norm again. Durura. And then you have an udri. When you have an excuse, meaning because you are traveling or it's raining, you can either pray Asr in the time of Dhuhr before its time, or at Asr, pray Dhuhr and Asr together because of traveling or because of rain. Those are the five issues of Asr. Amal Maghrib. As for Maghrib, then that's difference of opinion. What one do you look for? The light when it leaves the sky totally, the whiteness or the redness, which many ulama said comes seen ila sa ruba, gives you between the time Fajr, Maghrib and Isha, 55 to 50 minutes, an hour, and 15 minutes most. Most. Fajr the same thing, an hour, 55 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes most. Anything before that, you're praying too early. Anything before that, you're in a zone that's bad. Anything that's close to sunrise, Allah musta'an. And don't tell me masjid so-and-so and so-and-so. Nah. Masjid so-and-so, that's on them. Once we learn what the Nabi did, once we learn what's marju, what's predominant, that's on us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in these issues of fitna. Because wallahi, if you shake and you bake too hard, some people may not come back. If you shake and you bake the issues of deen, you're going to be responsible. If you mix and match like a pair of shoes or socks, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish us all. But وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةَ لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنكُمْ خَاصَّةً وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. So صدق على نبينا محمد. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah ma ba'd. We talk about the issue of the salat ثقيل على أنفسنا والذي قال النبي صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم والله من النساء والصبيان لأقام وأمرت برجل يصلي بالناس ثم أطلق برجال حزب من حطب إلى الذين لا يشهدون الصلاة ويحرقوا عليهم بيوتهم. That hadith with the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if it was not, and before that he said, أثقل الصلاة على المنافقين العشاء ماذا والفجر. بدأ بالعشاء. He started with Isha and Fajr. You can't separate one. Brother, you got to make Fajr, 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 Fajr. Beat them to death with Fajr. Although it's important, but the Prophet started with Isha. Equally important. In some cases, Asr is more important. As the Prophet mentioned, Khairul Salat. Allah mentioned, Yani Hafiz ala Salawati, wa Salat al-Wusta. And the Sahaba used to differ. They said the middle prayer. Some of them said this, that, but the most predominantly, and the Prophet himself, he mentioned Asr in the narration when they kept them in the ditch. Asr is the middle prayer. So it's not always Fajr. Well, all of them was Salat, all of the Salat difficult on the Munafiq. But listen to this. Allah said about those Munafiqeen in the Quran. وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ قَامُوا كُسَالَى يُرَاءُونَ النَّاسِ. And when they stand to pray, they stand laziness. Now, laziness here don't mean mutta, that you're tired. It doesn't mean mutta, that you're worn out. Laziness is from the issue of your heart. That's why Allah said, يُرَاءُونَ النَّاسِ. When they do go, it's because they want to show an appearance. And the Prophet mentioned these are the two salat that's the most heaviest on the munafiq. Why? Because again, no street lights, no car lights, no flashlights. So if they coming in the daytime, doing also, they praying, they infiltrating, they making fitna, they plotting. Nobody can see you at Isha. Nobody can see you at Fajr. And I lived in those places, it's dark as hell. So you can infiltrate, you can chill, not pray. But the believer, because he's coming to pray, because Allah commanded him, even it's dark, he's going to come. No matter you see me or not, I'm going to come. Many times I'm here praying, even though somebody might be here, he slipped, I said, somebody's here. But before that, I don't care if you're here or not, I'm praying. I'm not coming to pray for you like this. So the Prophet was going to burn their houses down to bring them out, number one, because this is a hypocritical action. That you come and you pray for the people. Number two, to expose them. Who are the munafiqeen? Remember, who they forgot the list of them. But the Prophet also said, in conclusion, as-salatu جماعة الصلاة جماعة نعم 27 درجة من صلاة المنفرد. And this is why the ulama, they said these following positions. That the salat in Jum'ah, meaning the masjid, is blessed, is more rewards, higher in darajat, 27 times than the prayer of a munfarid, mean you by yourself, wahdiyan. ولله من الأجر والفضل ولما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من منفرد. Why did he say rather than the one who's praying alone? The scholars said it can't be sinful if it's a virtue in both. Praying in Jama'ah in the masjid and praying alone. وفي رواية في بيتي أو سوقي, in another narration, in the masjid or rather than in the masjid in your house, or you prayed in the marketplace. Which one has the greatest reward? In the masjid. In the masjid. That's why the ulama, they said, number one, either the salat in the masjid is sunan mu'akkidah. It's sunan, but it's a stress sunan. Or they say for kifaya. Some people have to do it. If some people do it, the sin is lifted off the rest of the people, which is a weak position. But they say it. Then some of them say, well, Allah mustaan for aina likullah, that everybody has to pray, meaning from the ones who puberty male. What's the point? They have their evidence. And this one, that is for ayn, I mean, sunan mu'akkada. It's sunan, but it's not far. It's supported by this hadith. That the Prophet said 27. And the hadith Abu Hurairah said, Kamsa washrun juz'an, 25. 25. Isn't it an excuse to not come to the masjid and pray? No. But we're saying nobody has the right. You can't look at my chest. I tell you, I'm hurting, I'm painful, I'm sick. Oh, he don't want to pray. Why ain't not praying? What's wrong? Are you serious? And we have this problem. Somebody feel upset. Yeah, it's a problem in this community. It's a problem in other communities. It's a problem in the fit of the people. It's a problem. And you don't know, just like fasting. He's not fasting. Why not fasting? Oh, he's praying around. He's not. You don't know. It's based on that individual. على نيته وقدره نعم قدره طاقته, his intention and his ability. His intention and his ability. And lastly, that's why they said the issue of knowledge. يطلع العلم لا يطلع العلم براحة الجسد. الله المستعان. لا يطلع العلم براحة الجسد. You will never obtain the knowledge with a body that's just chilling and relaxed. Why did they say that? Because some people should travel months for one hadith. Take a lot of work, a lot of preparation. I won't even tell you how much I review all of this. You're up in the 90th hadith. Allah musta'an. Hours. You talk somebody blind, have to listen to the audio, fast forward. Imam Nawawi, Qadi Ayad, Imam Qadi Ayad, Abu Awana. You don't even know these names. These are Jibal, mountains in our religion. What's the point? This is fitna. Fitna. And if something happens publicly, you address it publicly. You can mention names, but if you don't mention names, it's better. This why the issue is such a prevalent thing, because people, number one, either don't have sufficient knowledge, or they have knowledge, but that knowledge is only for them. If you're working with books, working with tapes and CDs, that's for you. It's not for you to go and judge people and regulate life. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْلٍ مَقَامٍ. And every statement has its place. It's a very serious issue because lastly, I remember a brother, a person disabled, 65, 66, accepted Islam right before Ramadan. Durham, African American. And he came to my house, we had tea. He said, I'm old and I have all of these problems. I had a heart attack. Now I'm on medications. And to top it off, my insurance is ready to cancel me because my roof is too old on my house. He said, what do I do? I said, what do you think you should do? He said, I want to take a loan out to get my roof fixed because if I don't, they're going to cancel my insurance and I have to have insurance to my house. Okay, do that. I called another Shaikh and said, for that person, he has durura, even though it's loans and this, with the issue of interest and riba, because he's forced. Some brothers got him. يقالوا أنهم على منهج السلف. They claimed on the manhaj of salaf. I know there's a bad taste in your mouth, but there's a history behind that too. Salaf, those who came before us. The first of them, our prophet and companions, and down the line. Those brothers got him in the car. The same thing. Fighting, pushing. And they have no ilm. Because if they did, they would have known not to tell him, this is haram, that's haram, this is this is this. So eventually the man, I got the call, talked to him. He's ready to leave Islam. And by the time I got to him, he said, I'm done. If this is a religion where I can't get a roof on my house, everything is prohibited, I don't need it. He left Islam. This is one of the issues of fitn. The hurjal person will bring his ignorance. Bismillah in the name of deen. Bismillah talib in the name of student Manar. Bismillah Shaikh in the name of Shaikh. Bismillah Salih in the claim these righteous. Allah musta'an. May Allah protect us all. وَلَا تَخَافُ اللَّوْمَ تَلَائِمْ. And don't worry about the blame of the blamers. This is our deen. And if we let it go, وَخُصُوصًا هُنَا في هذه ماذا? In this place, in this county, what's left except bid'ah? وما بعد وما بعد هدى إلا الضلال. What's after guidance except astrangeness? We don't follow Masjid Noor. We don't follow Masjid Ikhlas. We don't follow Masjid Rashid. We don't follow Masjid Sunnah Nabawiyya. We don't follow Masjid Al-Taqwa. We don't follow any Masjid. Hatta they do it in Mecca. Even they do it in Mecca. La اتباع. قال الله قال الرسول وما كان علينا السلف الصالح مبني على الدليل. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq, to rid us from these diseases, to make us those who are not punished generally because of the generality of fitna. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ألف بين قلوبنا على الحق, bring our hearts together from the truth. ما يحب ويرضى, what Allah He loves and what He's pleased with. قيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا تراصوا اعتدلوا صوصا صد خلق هذا بين المناكب والأقدام. Straighten the lines, fill in the gaps, stand up shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot. Brothers, move up. Put your phones on vibrate, please. We don't want to hear the dancing, the singing, and all of that. We need our salah. That's for the nisa as well. Please put your phones on vibrate to shut them off. Somebody give me that phone so I can make sure minds don't talk. Allah musta'an. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Jazakumullah khair. So, Taras